to make change happen, you got to lead. You got to do stuff which actually does change people's perception. That image of you, which has gone around the world, is one of those moments, I think, where you went to save the life of somebody who we assume, we haven't interviewed him separately, but we assume would be diametrically opposed to much of what you stand for.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've been asked questions many times about all of that, and you know what happened instinctively on the day, and we all took action that needed to be taken. Everything else has come because of that.
Yeah. You went up to London on that day, the protest, because you wanted to intervene in some way, keep the peace in some way. There was a group of you, and you're joined by the friends in that group this morning. And I wanted to ask Jermaine Facey, one of the reasons that you did what you did was to protect the others in the black community, wasn't it? Particularly the younger black protesters who might have been there that day. Jermaine, can you just explain why that was, what you were concerned about and how that might affect people?
Hi, and good morning. It literally went back from when the day of the protest, when the lady got knocked off the horse when she ran into the actual traffic lights. And I stood there, I was literally there at that day, standing with my push bike underneath a tree, watching what's going on. I saw little kids, young children, probably out there for their first ever protest. And they have experienced probably about 8 horses charging down at them. Little kids, young children. And then riot police dressed up, running out aggressively, kettling them in a corner. As a big man, I was looking around and I'm thinking, where are all the fathers, the uncles? Where are, and it doesn't matter what colour the fathers and uncles are, but where are they? I didn't see them at that time, you know? Not as much as they should be. There were loads of young kids, so I made a shout out on Instagram and Facebook, on my Instagram and my Facebook, that I want to see. After I found out what was going on was it's been cancelled, and this guy they call Tommy Robinson made these terrorist requests, I call it. Our kids was going to be vulnerable out there, and we needed our big people to be out there to actually oversee and make sure they can protest if they want to protest.
Well, thank God you were there, because you guys, there's no question, I don't think now, that you guys saved this man's life. Pierre Noah, you know, you think there was a 100% chance that he was going to die in front of your eyes, and you decided as a group to save this man. Why was it so important to you to do that?
Well, you know, the reason why we all felt of doing that is because we didn't want to spoil the names of our young black boys. We didn't want, you know what happens. If anything bad like that happens, straight away, they're looking at the black boys, the black girls as being negative all the way around. So that was, as Jermaine said, that's the reason why we called out. I mean, there's many other groups as well, black boys that went up there to try and look out for the children. But my call for the rest of my friends here was to do that. And so we didn't want to spoil their name. And obviously, at the same time, to show the people that look at us as being negative, that, you know, we can work together.
And Chris,
that's basically it.
Chris Odokedo, you've referenced the fact that this stuff has been going on, you know, racism and all the side effects from that around the world have been going on for centuries. But social media is now shining a unique light on this stuff. We are outraged about George Floyd because somebody captured it on their camera phone. That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. How important do you think social media is? It's very bad in many ways, but how important is it now on shining a light? So many of these racism stories we've seen in the last few weeks and months have come from people's camera phones.
That's a great question, Piers, and thanks for asking it, both yourself and Susan.
I think yourselves, Piers, Susan, anybody reporting, all the newspapers and all of the reporters that have come down to speak to us, you all have a massive responsibility on your hands right now. The opportunity for change literally is in your hands as well. As you've said a couple of years back, a couple of years ago, the things that are happening right now and going live on air, there's so many unsung stories of people who have been heroes as well, people who have suffered, people who have not had a voice. I think we're blessed to be in a time where you can capture it. But now that we can capture it on TV and now we are seeing it and it is present to everyone, it's even more of a weight on everybody's shoulders to use that information and use that knowledge and awareness and
use
do
it.
the right
I think
thing
use
with
it.
It's a choice that you have to make.
And to use it powerfully, Lee Russell, you say that you hope it's a step closer to equality. We need to be not just reactive as a society, particularly a country that remains predominantly white like England, for example. We need to not just react to these stories when they happen and say how outrageous it is, and then within a week get on with our lives. We need to be proactive now to force proper equality. What is the best way to do this?
I think the best way to do it is to be more involved in the community, you know, and especially like with like policing, for example, their approach to get trust in the community, and to try and just with the policing, I think there are good police officers, and obviously there's bad police officers, but they need to step in as what we done down at the march to, if they see something going wrong, then they should step in. They should do what we done. You know, we see something going wrong, and let's step in. If like George Floyd would be alive, if his colleagues stepped in.
Yeah. Patrick Hutchinson, the man that you rescued that day, have you had any contact with him?
Morning, Susanna.
Morning.
No contact with him.
Would you want to talk to him? I mean, this is a man who you threw over your shoulder and rescued and potentially saved his life in a very volatile situation. Do you think you could have a conversation with him after that?
It's not something I really focus on, Susanna, to be honest. The most important thing is that the man is still alive. I don't have much to say to him or anything to say to him. I'd be more interested in what he might have to say to me or any of my friends.
Well, you know what he could say? Apparently he's a Millwall fan, reportedly in the Sun today, called Bryn Mail, 55. It'd be interesting to see what he has to say, whether he wants to come out now and also be a force for good. You guys saved his life. One of the great moments of this, Patrick, was seeing your 8-year-old daughter on TV, I think with some of her cousins, all going crazy when you were on TV. I want to show a little clip of this.
Yes, he's on TV. Let's find him. Wow, I can't believe my dad's on TV. Where is he? Shh, guys, make sure you be quiet. Everybody, shh. Hi, Betsy.
It's everyone versus the racist Patrick Hutchinson.
I mean, I've seen rock stars get less attention than this.